Okay, here's a couple of side notes that are important that I learned through this process. Number one, court cannot proceed until all the parties are seated. I'm making coffee, so excuse that. Court cannot proceed until all parties are seated. Interesting. It seems like a little thing, but Ephesians talks all about it. It talks about how we are seated with Christ in heavenly places. I used to think, what does that mean? And I've had a lot of people explain things, and they've pulled out some really cool things. But where I settled, where the Lord brought me to, was in Hebrews 10, where it talks about how Jesus is our high priest. He's explaining all of that. Now, not being Jewish, I've had to learn what that all entails. Hebrews is a great school for understanding that if you want to read it. But Hebrews 10 is where it talks about how this high priest would offer sacrifices year after year. You know, the other priests would offer sacrifices daily, depending on what the sacrifice was. But they could never make people clean forever, right? They would offer them continually. Well, Jesus is our eternal high priest. And when he offered the one sacrifice of himself, once and for all, he sat down. He sat down because his job in that role was finished. And we're seated with him. So the court cannot proceed until all parties are seated. That's profound if you think about that. Daniel, in the prophecy and the multiple prophecies that he got that people are still trying to wrap their head around. You know, I feel like people want to understand Revelation, but until they understand Daniel, which I'm not going to claim I get it all, we can't really understand Revelation fully. That said, Daniel 7 talks about how, and the court was seated and a judgment was made in the favor of the saints. I think about that often, just so many different levels. But we need to recognize that we are seated with Christ, and he seated us with him when he rose from the grave. We are seated, and court can't proceed until then. Honor matters. That's another thing I learned. Honor matters, and how you interact, it matters, and I'm going to leave it there. So don't think that the things that you're doing are going unnoticed by the judge in the best way. He sees how you're living your life, and the way that you present yourselves. It matters, and it is a blessing. So court can't proceed until all parties are seated and honor matters. The next thing that I just want to say real briefly is that you cannot present documents in a legal proceeding that you don't have the legal right to sign your name to. Remember how I said you have the legal right to representation to people who are trained in the law and understand it? If that's not you, find somebody who is and make them one of your closest confidants so they can teach you how to understand and to bring his word and find all the treasures to stand before the Lord with. But you can't present anything that you don't have the legal right to sign your name to. So find out what Jesus did for you, what he won for you, that you have the legal right to say, that is mine. And every time you find one, bring it up. Bring it up. It matters. It's so important. And just don't take it for granted, this gift of where you stand.